years after his death, still celebrating Dr. Seuss and his work. Dr. Seuss made good on his word and became not only an artist, but a wonderful author as well. Altogether, Dr. Seuss published over 44 books during the 53 years he wrote children's books. His characters are known worldwide. In fact, at the time of Dr. Seuss's death on September 24, 1991, some 200 million copies of his books, some translated into 15 different languages, had found their way into homes and hearts around the world. Some of Dr. Seuss's best books have been made into movies, the most recent being Horton Hears a Who, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and The Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss's books have served many different purposes. They have been a way to express political views, a guide to better reading, and even a helping hand pushing us on towards success. Ted, as he was still called at the time, attended Dartmouth College and graduated from there with a liberal arts degree. However, he didn't leave Dartmouth with only his degree. He also gained a name, Seuss. While he was a student at Dartmouth, Ted became the editor of the school's humor paper, Jack-o'-lantern. However, he lost the job when he and several of his friends threw a party without permission on school grounds. The dean made Ted give up his position as editor, but he still contributed to the magazine. Ted later added Doctor to his name, joking that his father had always wanted a doctor in the family. He did, however, according to the book Oh, the Places He Went by Mary Ann White, received an honorary doctorate degree from Dartmouth College in the spring of 1956. Ted went to Oxford College in England after graduating from Dartmouth to become a college professor. However, he decided a year into his classes at Oxford that he no longer wanted to teach and instead hoped to somehow pursue a career in art and writing. He did not leave empty-handed, however, because it was at Oxford that he found his first wife, Helen Palmer. Though he had sold short stories and cartoons to several magazines, Dr. Seuss made his first big break by selling ads to an insect repellent company called Flit. Here you see some examples of some of his earlier cartoons for this company. 5 years later, in 1936, Dr. Seuss wrote his first children's book, And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street. After 27 publishers rejected it, Seuss happened upon a college friend who had just become a children's book editor at Vanguard Press. In the end, the two men made a deal, because one needed books to publish and the other needed a publisher. Dr. Seuss wrote and published a second book with Vanguard Press before he was hired by Random House Inc. in 1939. Although most, if not all, of Dr. Seuss's books are widely known, there are several that were not only important to Seuss himself, but to America as well. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is one of Dr. Seuss's more famous books, not only because it was made into a movie later, but because it is about one of America's favorite holidays, Christmas. Published in 1957 by Random House, it's about the Grinch who tries to steal Christmas from his Who neighbors by taking away their material possessions, only to find that the spirit of Christmas is still there. According to Other Places He Went, Dr. Seuss was tired of commercialized Christmas, and so he wrote a book to show how ridiculous it was getting. The Cat in the Hat is also one of Dr. Seuss's more famous books, and it was created when a magazine editor was commenting on children's writing or children's reading and the lack thereof, and how no child wanted to sit and read a Dick and Jane book because no child is that perfect. So, and he made a comment saying that Dr. Seuss could write better children's books, better beginning reader books than what they could. Dr. Seuss took it as a challenge and went to his publisher, and his publisher gave him a list of books, or a list of words, that children needed to know by a certain age, and the first two words only that rhymed were cat and hat, and the Cat in the Hat was born. Green Eggs and Ham was published by under Beginner Books by Random House in 1960, and it was written by Dr. Seuss on a dare that he could not write a book using a list of only 50 words. Needless to say, he proved them wrong. The I Book is another one of Dr. Seuss's books, and though it's not one of his more famous books, it's used an example in this video because he signs his name as Theo as the author, not as Dr. Seuss, because he only wrote the story, he did not do the pictures for it. The Lorax was published in 1971 by Random House, and it was one of Dr. Seuss's first attempts at mixing political issues with the fiction of children's books. In this book, he's speaking out about the effects of environmental pollution and what we can do to change things now. The Butter Battle book is another one of Dr. Seuss's more famous books. It was published in 1984 by Random House, and in the book, while arguing over which side of bread to place their butter on, butter side up or butter side down, the Ukes and the Zooks begin an all-out war with each other, each creating and bringing a bigger and badder weapon out only to have their opponent have the same weapon, or sometimes a better weapon. This book has a Lady and the Tiger ending, which was a big controversy for some of the people when this book was getting published, because you don't know what happens to the Ukes and the Zooks and how the war between them ends. It was one of several books Seuss wrote as his way of getting a political message across. In this case, he was commenting on the mounting Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, and on the nuclear arms race. For the first time in memory, editors questioned a Dr. Seuss text. And as I said, the ending was strongly questioned, and it was considered to be the best book I've ever written, according to Dr. Seuss himself. Despite the controversy over it, the Butter Battle book, which is supposedly for kids, set a world record by appearing for 6 months on the New York Times adult bestseller list. At Dr. Seuss's death in September 1991, a Seuss fair was held in Balboa Park in San Diego, California. Everything from green eggs and ham to the big red and white striped hats of the Cat in the Hat could be seen. There was even a Seussian contraption that caused those coming out of it to have on stars like the star-billed Sneetches. Dr. Seuss's death was also commemorated by a much quieter gathering of friends and families to remember Ted Geisel as he was to them. People would take turns getting up and saying a few words about him or to reminisce over different memories of him. It was obvious through both events that Dr. Seuss was well loved and was going to be missed. According to Carol Dennis, the Youth Services Librarian at the Haywood County Public Library, schools and libraries all over the United States still celebrate Dr. Seuss and what he did for literature in the United States. Read Across America, which takes place beginning on Dr. Seuss's birthday, March 2nd, and continues throughout the month, though children are encouraged to read year-round. Some sites, such as Seussville.com, are devoted to promoting Dr. Seuss and Read Across America and offer different activities to do with children to make reading even more fun, such as this workbook here. The main library here in Haywood County celebrates Dr. Seuss's birthday and Read Across America with a birthday party for him, complete with the cake. And they present the public with the opportunity to sign up to read different Dr. Seuss books to the kids at storytime that day. Ms. Dennis also said that schools are just as involved with Dr. Seuss's birthday and Read Across America. Some school cafeterias serve green eggs and ham on the menu, while the libraries have a family read day where the children's relative can bring him or her to the school library and let them pick out books for their relatives to read to them. So as we can see, through his imagination and his wonderful books, Dr. Seuss has touched us all in some way. He has made America better, and through his opinions in some of his books and his work to get children away from the boring Dick and Jane books and to get them to love to read. He has taught us the value of literature, the imagination, and the importance of pursuing our dreams. As Dr. Seuss himself said, "So be your name Buxom, or Bixby or Bray, or Mordecai, Ali, Van Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places, today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way."
Yeah. Yeah.